This is one of the most fascinating charts that I've seen lately, and it comes from a Forbes magazine review. It's their first rich list of 1918. And if you look at the names there, Rockefeller, Frick, Carnegie, Baker, Harkness, Armour, Ford, a lot of these names are quite storied. They're the names of the Gilded Era of America, the Industrial Revolution, Widener. If you look at them, they're different sources of wealth. In today's wealth, this is at the top end, more than $100 billion of wealth. And the most interesting column is the one on the right. How many of those families are in the top 20 rich list in either the United States or the world in 2012? That's almost 3 generations. People tend to get married a little bit later and have kids a bit later. So 3 or 4 generations, none of them are there. And I was talking to one of my clients. I tend to have very small, very large clients, and Tom has a lot more experience with different ranges from very large to smaller size clients, still very, very wealthy, but a broader range. And I was talking to one of my clients. I went through this. I said, a lot of these people are just famous now for giving libraries or educational contributions. Harkness contributed the Harkness plan to education in boarding schools and other places. You see Morgan Libraries. You see all these famous names for libraries and museums. And he made a note. And I thought his note was going to say, make sure asset structures in place that are for new tax law. And later on, I saw it said, give a library. So it's not easy, even if you're famous and have enormous wealth. There's still some Rockefellers, I think number 497 on the world's rich list, but nothing like the wealth that was there.
There's this whole idea of thinking about a family having a balance sheet just like a corporation has a balance sheet. So on one side, the asset side is kind of easy. You think about, well, what would be on the asset side of a balance sheet? Well, financial assets, personal assets, houses, cars, boats. The idea of human capital, so that's really the present value of all of the income that you might earn over your lifetime. Special family holdings like real estate, the family business, what the current value of that is or the future value, options, inheritances, etc. So assets are easy, but what are liabilities? Well, it could be debt or leverage, but a lot of families don't really have personal debt. They might have debt in the company, but they don't have personal debt or mortgages. So what are liabilities? Well, liabilities is just like a pension fund. There's plans to spend on things. So it might be one liability might be funding your lifestyle. If you spend $200,000 a year and you're going to live for another 30 or 40 years, that's a liability that needs to be funded. And that's what assets are there for, to fund liabilities. Income can help that too, but assets are there to fund liabilities. Another liability might be some kind of dynastic goal like leaving money to children. Or it might be some other high priority goal like philanthropy. And then if you add up all those, and of course you don't know the answer to what those numbers total up, but you can start to think about it. In fact, people often say, well, I have no idea. We say, well, do you want to leave all your money to your children? Well, no. Well, do you want to leave no money to children? No. Well, okay, we know it's between 0 and all. So you start to think about it and narrow it down a little bit. And people actually do have views. They sometimes need to be helped to get there, but they do have some views on what the goal should be. And we can help put some numbers to those goals. But then at the bottom there is that thing that says discretionary wealth or surplus. And that's kind of like equity in a corporate balance sheet. So the more equity you have, the more discretionary wealth you have. If all your liabilities and commitments don't add up to the total of your assets, you've got this discretionary wealth. And we're big believers that actually is one of the biggest definers of how much risk you can take. If you've got a lot of discretionary wealth, you can actually take more risk. So it's not so much just risk tolerance, it's the capacity for risk. Can you actually withstand some kind of decline in your assets?